Welcome to the Letcher County Extension Show. I'm your host, Shad Baker. Today's episode will tell you we're on a steep hillside and we're next to a lot of traffic. So just expect you might hear coal trucks, you might hear cars blowing horns, you might hear anything. Don't think anything of it. But we are here because there are a bunch of trees growing in this spot that I want to talk to you about. And this particular tree is not from here. You might look at it and think, well, that's a butternut tree or that's a walnut tree, and it does look a lot like those, but that's not what it is. This particular tree is called Tree of Heaven, and this tree, it's a real fast growing tree. It's originally from Asia and it's spread all through the United States now. It produces a lot of wind-blown seeds, so that's part of the reason why we end up with it everywhere. The seed of it would kind of put you in mind a little bit of a maple seed. If you've ever seen those little helicopter type seeds, that's kind of what this one looks like. But they germinate real easy, and they grow really fast into a big tree. So, you know, a lot of our trees, they may take several years before they are seed-bearing age. This particular tree can be seed-bearing age in, if it's in the right spot, it can do it in less than 10 years. So it's a really prolific tree. It can develop in the understory of the woods, so it can tolerate a lot of different conditions. Now, the place that I usually see it growing is along the highway. And I think it comes in on the equipment. I've noticed a lot that if you go to a place where they've done new road construction, you will see this come in and colonize along that new road construction. So it makes me think that it's either coming in on the equipment or in boxes or something of supplies that they bring in when they're building the road. But that tends to be where we find it. It loves it out in the open. And it outgrows, because it's fast growing, it outgrows our native trees. So you know how a poplar tree grows really, really fast and it gets up and shades everything over? This thing does the same thing. It's a real fast growing tree. It gets up and outcompetes and shades other things out. If you're a woodland owner, or you've got property that's got Tree of Heaven on it that are more than 3 inches in diameter, this is something that you want to address. You don't want to let this thing go, because it'll take over the sides of the roads. It'll take over the trails that are on your property. If you do timber harvest, this tree will come in and it'll start spreading all through, and you don't want to go from a forest of oaks and hickories and poplars and maples into a forest of Tree of Heaven and Paulownia, which is the other tree we're going to talk about later. But it's really aggressive. So you want to scout your property and see if you've got it, and I'm going to show you some things that might help you identify it. And the first thing, I broke off a branch for you so that you can get a look at the leaves. It would put you in mind of a walnut or a butternut. That's exactly what it looks like. The one thing that you can do that will help you identify this is if you mash the leaf up and smell of it, it smells like roasted peanut butter. So it's, you know, I think most people probably know, if you grew up around here and you have been in the woods much, you know what a butternut or a walnut leaf smells like. It's unique. But this smells like peanut butter. And that's probably the easiest way to tell. You can also, let me break off, the way that it blooms is totally different than butternut or walnut. That is the flower head developing on that, and you can see that it's there's going to be a bunch. You know, on a walnut that might only be 1 or 2 or 4 walnuts, but on this is going to be probably 500 seeds out of that one cluster. And if you look up in that tree, I think James scanned up there a minute ago, you've probably got 300 or 400 of these blooms on there at 500 blooms a piece, and if each of those makes a seed, you're talking about thousands of seeds that are going to blow all over the place. and so it'll outproduce it. It's kind of like a cockroach, I guess. It can have more babies than other pests, and so we end up being covered up with them. But I think that's the easiest way to identify it. Now, as far as getting rid of it, and I do recommend you get rid of it. If James, if you want to pan around here and show them, we're up here at the junction of US 23 and 119. This is on the state's right-of-way, and I'm sure they don't pay any of mind to what this is, what they've got growing on them. But almost every tree you see growing in here, every tree you see growing in here is non-native. Let me let the truck get past us. Every tree growing inside of me is tree of heaven. And I see one autumn olive back there in the background, which is another thing we don't want. But this whole place here is took over by tree of heaven and autumn olive. Down in the ditch, I see one little lonely poplar tree, and that's the only native tree we've got. So something like this is a nursery for things that we don't want. And so we got to get rid of it. And so now the question is, how do I get rid of it? You could come in here with a chainsaw and you could cut it down, and this thing would re-sprout on you in a heartbeat. And if you've ever tried to get rid of autumn olive, it does the exact same thing. If you try to get rid of Paulownia, which is the tree we're going to go look at above Whitesburg, it does the exact same thing. So what you got to do is you got to treat them after you cut them. And I know that a lot of people don't own a chainsaw, so I'm not suggesting that you go crazy, go buy a $1,000 chainsaw and go cutting things down and spraying them. There's a real cheap solution to it, and all you really need is a good sharp hatchet, some gloves so that you don't get the chemical on you, and the right chemical to treat it with. Now I'll tell you in advance, if you do it right, your hatchet will be really sharp. And when I was sharpening this thing yesterday, I managed to cut my finger, and so I'll tell you, be careful. I kept it in the case just so I didn't lop off a hand or a finger. But put you some gloves on. You know, where the chemicals are concerned, you want to protect yourself in case there's some unsafe thing about the chemical to you personally. The chemicals that we use, they're supposed to break down in the weather, and so I'm not, and we don't use enough of it to be a concern to the environment or anything. But the tree takes it up, and when the tree takes it up, it's not going to re-sprout. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to ring this tree with a hatchet. We're going to squirt the chemical, and I think the chemical that I'm using here is a Mazapir, and there's several different ones that you can use. And if you're interested, you can call the office and I can get you the list. But I would tell you probably have safety glasses on or something in case it squirts you in the eye. You don't want to have to go to the emergency room and get them to flush your eyeballs out. But we're just basically going to go around the tree, and every time I chop into that, I'm going to pry it out. And I don't know if you can see that when I do that, I'm prying that out. And you can smell that. If James was down here, I'm sorry you all don't have smell-o-vision. I wish they would come out with such a thing where you could smell things on your TV. But it's a stinky, stinky tree, which is another reason why I don't like it. When I have gone all the way around this, and you need to go all the way around, and the reason for it is that tree feeds itself with the sap that comes up, you know, or the nutrients that come up from the ground, and then the sugars that go down from the leaves. That's how a tree lives. If you leave a gap where you haven't ringed it, it will continue to live, and you don't want that. So you go all the way around, circle the thing, And then you're going to come in, and if you use the spray bottle, all you need is a squirt bottle. I would recommend that you get one that is chemical resistant. If you're just going to do a handful of trees and you're only going to do it one time, you can pick up a little squirt bottle anywhere. But if you're going to do this, if you've got a lot of them to do, the chemicals in that will break down the little parts inside the squirter mechanism. It's got a spring in there and a little ball bearing and things, and that chemical will corrode those and it won't work anymore. So if you get one of these chemical resistant spray bottles, and you can order them online, they're resistant to it, so it won't hurt them. But I'm going to come in and I'm just going to squirt that all in where I have chopped. It's imazapyr is the chemical that's in the bottle, and you don't dilute it much when you're doing this. Normally, if you were spraying this with a broadcast sprayer like 2,4-D or something, you would be diluting that with a bunch of water. But when you're doing hack and spray, usually it's like a 50-50 mix of water and chemical. So you want it to be real concentrated for it to do its job. But I'm going through and I'm squirting that whole thing all down in those cuts. And that tree, it doesn't know it yet, but it is graveyard dead. It's going to the place it belongs, and it ain't. It says it's tree of heaven, but I can assure you that tree ain't going to heaven. It will not be with us anymore. This whole place needs to be treated, and this whole thing needs to be gotten rid of so that it doesn't spread. And one thing I didn't talk about that I will mention to you, these trees, they're from China originally. They attract the pests that are also from China. So we've got one in here right now that has come in, spotted lanternfly, and I think I've talked to you all about spotted lanternfly. And it is supposed to be the worst pest that we will have ever had. And it's been found in Kentucky now. They found it up in northern Kentucky, and it feeds on everything. It feeds on apples and grapes and maple trees and all kinds of fruit trees. Just it's horrendous. Grapes, it'll wipe out vineyards, and it's like aphids in a way. It feeds on the sap and squirts out that honeydew that will totally stain the trees, and there will be tens of thousands of them on these trees. And so it's attracted to this tree because this is what it feeds on back home. And the one benefit to this, I guess, is they kind of use these as a survey tree or a trap tree. They go around, they've wanted us to go around and identify where there's stands of these trees and look for those spotted lanternflies. And I came in here last year, I was telling James, I came down in here, and I think some of the people thought that I had missed the turn and was off-roading or something. But I was down in here looking to see if any of these trees had that spotted lanternfly on them, and they don't. But this is the kind of place that you would look for that. So what I'm telling you is if you've got this on your property, or if you've got this kind of tree close to your house, you will be the one that gets hit by the spotted lanternfly probably before anybody else. So that's another reason why we want to get rid of them. And you know, I could treat every one of the trees that's growing in this this little area here probably with what little chemical is in that little pump bottle there. So it doesn't take much chemical at all unless you've just got thousands. You can get rid of them, and now's the time to get rid of them when we've just got a few. We don't want to try to take this on when we've got thousands of trees. We want to get rid of them now. So if you've got any questions about Tree of Heaven, you can call us at the Extension office. It's 633-2362. We've got a publication from the university that will tell you how to identify them, some little background information on them, some pictures on what they look like, and then it'll tell you what to do to get rid of them. And I'd be glad to come out if you need help on identifying them. I'm glad to come out and help you identify what you've got. But we hope if you got this on your property that it will be like picking up litter. You'll pick up the litter and you'll get rid of your tree of heaven. I'm Shad Baker. I work for the Letcher County Extension Office, and you're watching the Letcher County Government Channel. Welcome back to the Letcher County Extension Show. I'm your host, Shad Baker, and we have changed locations. We were up at on 119 up at Jenkins, and now we're on 119 up at the pretty overlooks on top of the mountain above Whitesburg. And you can probably see from the angle James is getting that we are surrounded by beautiful scenery and fog down in the valley where it rained a little bit earlier. But we are here to talk about something that is another problem tree that we've got. Now, some people like this one. It ain't like the tree of heaven. The tree of heaven's flowers ain't even pretty. This one, when it blooms, the blooms on it are very pretty. They have those lavender colored flowers, and down in Pike County, that strip mine just as you go down 23 into Pikeville or into Pike County, they're everywhere, going down B5 Mountain. But it's another tree that is from Asia, and I apologize for the road noise. We're still beside the road. But this tree is called Paulownia, and some people know it as the Empress tree or Royal Paulownia or the Princess tree, and it was named after a Russian princess, and her name must have been Paula or something. But it originated from China. It's like the tree of heaven in that it spreads prolifically. I like doing shows on the interstate. That right there is the sound of commerce and industry, so I won't complain too much about it. But anyway, we are on the side of the road. But this tree, it was used in Japan to carve little idols, I guess is what you would say. And so the wood on it was kind of highly sought after. The seeds on it, this is kind of last year's seed pod, if you can see that. And the seeds that come out of that are real fluffy, and they blow on the wind. And they were, because they were fluffy, they were used as a packing material back in the day, kind of like what we use packaging peanuts for now. But that caused it to spread all over the place, and there was reports of this showing up on the Ohio River Valley back in the 1800s, the early 1800s, in that packing material. So it has naturalized and spread through the state, but it's another one that will take totally over. And last time I checked, Pine Mountain Lumber was not buying Paulownia for anything. So when it comes in here, it's displacing something that we could sell and make money off of, and it's replaced with a junk tree that serves no purpose to us. And again, it's not native, so that's a problem for us. They do still sell this one as an ornamental, so you can find it like in Europe. Because of the flowers and such, they will sell it as an ornamental. But this is not the kind of thing that you would want to use as an ornamental because of how much it spreads. And it says a single tree can produce millions of seeds. So, if you got 1 million seeds off of this tree blowing in the wind, and look where it's growing at. I mean, if ever there was a place for it to spread from, this is it. It's in a real windy location up high along the edge of the road. So it makes 1 million seeds. They blow on the wind and they spread all over Letcher County, and that's not a good thing. And this is another one that can invade. I have seen these growing on Pine Mountain after a forest fire. There was a pretty bad fire. If you remember the fall of 2016 when it was so dry, there was a real bad forest fire on Jefferson National Forest. And after that fire was over, the following year, it had killed oaks, it had killed everything. It was so hot. Went in there and these were sprouting up everywhere. So the seed had been there, or it had spread in just since that fall, but it ended up growing. It outgrows the native trees. So this is another one. It's like, if you think about it, it's like a kudzu tree. It grows fast, it spreads, and it outcompetes everything that we've got. So the only thing that we've got that's native that you might confuse this with is a catalpa tree, and that's the one that gets the big long bean pods on it. And if you're a fisherman, you like to get those caterpillars that feed on that tree, and they say they're the leaves of it look kind of similar to that. These aren't totally open yet. They will get to be a lot bigger than that. They will spread big wide. You know, it ain't nothing for them to be a foot wide. So this one's not totally open yet. Now this one, it's the same treatment that we used on the Tree of Heaven can be used on this one. One thing about this one is when it's young, you can still pull this one up from the roots, but if you don't get all the roots, it'll send up sucker sprouts. So if you're pulling it, you need to make sure that you get rid of the root collar to totally get rid of it. This is another one that a mazapir can kill, and I didn't go over this when we talked about the Tree of Heaven, but triclopyr or garlon, if you're familiar with that, will work on this. So will Roundup. Roundup will work on that other one as well. I just think, for me, the mazapir and the triclopyr work faster. Like if I treat this one now, you'll see this tree wilting pretty fast. It wouldn't shock me if that tree up at Jenkins, if it's not wilted when I go home this evening. So it'll work real quick, and you won't see that with Roundup. It'll take a while. But let me see. There's nothing else really for me to tell you about it other than that the bark is real slick. It's a softwood. It's real easy to carve, and that's why they liked it. I would say if you're familiar with linn tree or basswood, that's another one that it kind of reminds me of. The leaves look a little bit like it, and the wood is real lightweight like that. But the treatment is exactly the same, and you know, in this particular location, part of the reason why we would want to get rid of it, other than the fact that it's an invasive, is that we're up at those overlooks on Pine Mountain, and there's several of them that a few years ago we came up here with a big tank sprayer and had to spray and kill them to get rid of them so that the view wasn't blocked. And we've got the same thing going on now. The view would be a lot nicer if those paulownia trees that are growing there were gone. And if you come up here to the overlooks above Whitesburg, that's probably about 70% of what's growing up here is paulownia. So it's kind of interfering with our tourism objectives here on the mountain. Again, if you got this growing on your property, get rid of it. Cut it with a saw if you got a saw and squirt the trunk. If you don't have a saw, you can do the hatchet. Do the real thing I showed you earlier. Just hatch it around the tree and squirt it with the spray, and it'll die pretty fast and it won't come back. So if you've got any questions about identifying these, we've got a publication that was specifically for Tree of Heaven, and we've got another one that is specifically for paulownia, and we want to encourage you to make sure that these things don't spread any further than they already have. If you want to plant something, plant a white oak tree. That's going to be a high dollar tree down the road, and we need the money from it. You need the money from it. This ain't going to make you any money at all. So if you got any questions, you can call us at the Extensions office. It's 633-2362, and hope to see you again soon. Did I tell you I'm also listed as a logger at Pine Mountain Lumber? You can tell by how easy I chop into that, how soft that is. Is it acting like it's ready to fall yet? No. I can't get around this tree like I did that other one. That'll be it. That needs a saw.